Welcome back to Reese's Side Quest for another bird watching video. Today we're in South Carolina, on the east coast of the United States, just south of Myrtle Beach, in the area known as Surfside Beach, as well as Huntington Beach State Park. I was mainly looking for birds on the beach itself, as well as in the salt marshes just inland. And even though it looks like I was about a week late to find the roseate spoonbill, which I had really wanted to see on this trip, I did get a lot of really great photos of a wide variety of birds in both the beach and the salt marsh. So let's get started without any further ado. The Huntington Beach State Park contains this unusual castle thing that I would recommend to anyone interested in weird architecture, but that's not the main focus here on this video. The park contains a mixture of actual beach environment, forested environment, and the salt marshes I was talking about, which were really teeming with life, with a lot of insects, fish, and anything birds can eat, pretty much. Some of the common birds to start us out, I saw some rock pigeons, and this nice little mourning dove here, as well as a northern cardinal and a northern mockingbird. This is a juvenile, as well as this adult. There is a number of birdhouses and bird feeders placed around in the Huntington Beach and Surfside Beach areas, which I thought was really nice to see. There was always some turkey vultures flying overhead. I got some decent photos here, although a little backlit. And one of the more common birds you're going to see in this area is the great blue heron, which is pretty common in the US generally, but it's an enormous blue and gray bird that in this area you'll often see fishing in the salt marshes and other lowland areas. I got quite a few photos here. And here's a common grackle I just saw looking a little scruffy after a rainstorm. I liked how its eye looks here. Another bird you'll see pretty often in this area that's quite enormous is the great egret, this starkly white bird with a very, very long neck, yellow bill, and you can see that distinctive shape when it's flying. It kind of tucks its neck in, and its long legs allow it to wade through the water and fish right out in the middle of the marshes during low tide, but honestly at medium tide as well. Here's the snowy egret, another commonly seen white egret species in this area, which looks kind of scruffy and is a little bit smaller than the great egret. Here's one of the more exciting spots that I had of the day, where I was at Huntington Beach State Park just at the right time to catch these wood storks coming down to feed. They only come down at certain times of the tide to where the food that they're going to eat, which comprises mainly of fish and crabs, and they'll occasionally crack open an oyster. You can see some of them fishing here. But these are quite enormous birds. They're, I believe, over 3 feet tall, and each one eats about a kilogram of food per day, so this huge flock of them, essentially, will come down, eat about 500 pounds of food, and then go back up and sit in the trees in the woods for the rest of the day, hence their name of wood stork, I believe. And here's one of the cuter little birds that I saw, the sanderling, just running around in the marsh area. We'll get some more photos of those later on the beach. And then this really beautiful tricolored heron. I mistakenly thought it was a little blue heron at first because of that bluish coloration from the side profile. But this bird can be distinguished from the little blue heron by that patch of color on its back, as well as having kind of a white belly and underside of its neck there, you can see. Oh, it kind of trips there a little bit. But it was trying to fish. You know, it didn't really seem to mind us that much, but we were keeping a distance. This is with quite a zoom on the camera here. But a really beautiful bird. My girlfriend said it might be her new favorite. And another really up-close look we got was at this red-tailed hawk. Looks like a juvenile based on the coloration of the brown patches on its belly rather than having that more belt-like belly band that the adults have. Just kind of relaxing, other than it being harassed a little bit by a crow, and why it's looking up here. And I was wondering at first why it was sitting there being so chill on a low branch, until I got these photos on my laptop later on and saw this blood around its beak where it had clearly just eaten something and was digesting. And here's some gulls that I saw on the beach. I believe these are juvenile laughing gulls, or at least ones in their non-breeding plumage, but I'm honestly pretty bad at gull identification. And here's some more sanderlings. These guys are really one of the cutest birds, I believe, and they're pretty common to see in this area from what I saw. I saw a good handful of them here just running around in the waves in their classic way, where they kind of chase down the waves trying to find little critters in the sand and then running away. Here's one that was pretty successful. It caught a crab. You can see it gobbling it up right here and then just running away from the wave quickly. It already ate it. There's a still I got of it. And here's a sanderling next to the gull. It's like a little bro, big bro. And here's a tern, I believe a common tern. I can't quite clearly see its markings. And here we have a Eurasian collared dove sitting up next to this house finch. I had actually never been able to photograph the Eurasian collared dove. It is invasive in the United States, but they're not present where I live in New York City. So it was really cool to see these, and I actually pulled the car over when I saw one on a power line. And this is back in the kind of salt marsh area in the neighborhoods of Surfside Beach. And I saw here a great blue heron and a great egret both fishing at the same time, kind of lining up their poses in a very nice way for the camera. And the great blue got quite a few small fish and ate them while I was taking these photos, but the great egret was not as successful. And this little football-shaped bird is a green heron, all tucked away ready to pounce on whatever little fish might swim by. And here you can see it standing a little more normally with its neck extended where it, looks more like a heron to some extent. I saw a couple more green herons on this trip as well. For some reason, it seems like they really like to stand on these fuel lines at marinas and fish. This one looking back at me here. And then one instance I didn't have my camera, I took this one on my phone, another one standing right on the fuel line. I don't know why they like to do that, but there was a ton of fish in these marinas, so it was easy pickings for them. And these are some of the wood storks flying over. I got some really nice compositions of photos of these guys. They just look so unusual. And they're enormous in flight. I'll put the wingspan up here. And one that I often saw overhead, but never quite saw land, was the osprey, which were diving and fishing pretty much constantly, both in the marshes and in the ocean. Here's one that I got with a pretty sizable fish in hand. And then an American crow. We can often hear these harassing the other birds, but this was the only photo I got of one, as well as this crab. A lot of these crabs have this one large claw. I'm not sure what species of crab it is. And here was a brown pelican posted up at the marina, just looking like it belongs right there where it's sitting, as a decorative element or possibly a resident of the marina. But another massive, beautiful bird here was just kind of preening, hanging out. Here's it with its neck extended, just crazy looking. Another sighting I got, which was a lifer for me, the American white ibis, a really beautiful bird that I spotted from a far distance here and got my camera zoomed all the way in to get these first ones of these two of them in a tree together, which I totally did not expect because I expected them to be, walking alongside the shore, and I'd been looking for them in that instance. But soon enough they hopped down from the tree and started fishing in the water here. So it was fun to see these two, I believe a mated pair, just going about their ibis business, and got some of these really nice composition photos of them. And I hadn't even known it until I got back home and posted this photo of a bird that I couldn't identify on Reddit, and they said that it was a juvenile white ibis that I'd seen over nearby that flock of wood storks. So two separate locations of white ibis sightings, and a new fact for me that the juvenile plumage looks like this. From a distance I saw this hawk with this thick banding on its tail. I think it's a Cooper's hawk, maybe a sharp-shinned hawk, but I'm not certain. As well as this royal tern. I saw many of these flying overhead. There was a nesting ground of them just off the coast of Murrells Inlet. And that wraps up my time birding in Surfside Beach, South Carolina. So I hope you enjoyed this short summary and my photography of these birds. Make sure to like and subscribe for more travel videos and wildlife photography, as well as basically every other subject And I did see the anhinga, the snake bird, while driving into the park and assumed that I would see more to photograph, and literally only saw them at points in the trip where I didn't have my camera on me. So I didn't have a picture of an anhinga, but I did see them, you gotta trust.